Hey guys, it's Luke, and today I have Brandon here with me. He is a model developer scout as well as a photographer based in Los Angeles. Brandon, thank you for joining us today. How are you?
Thank you for having me. Pretty good.
Awesome, awesome. So, first off, I want you to tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started developing models in Los Angeles.
Yeah, so basically I started when I was actually in high school. I started photography. I was like shooting my friends and, kind of the whole same drill that most photographers start out doing. Originally I wanted to become a filmmaker, but photography was like the fastest way for me to actually start shooting or start creating projects. And then when I started doing photo shoots with my friends, I realized, oh, this is actually something I really love to do. And then graduating high school, I decided I wanted to do fashion photography. Didn't know much about it then, but all I knew is I wanted to start shooting with all the agencies in LA. And over the next couple of years, from 17, 18, 19, 20, I started shooting with all the major agencies in town, working my way up, of course. But I also didn't want to limit myself to just being like a typical local photographer. So I started going on trips to New York. I did a shoot in Guatemala. And then over the span of my career, I decided, like, okay, I'm going to go to Barcelona, Iceland, and Paris, and London, and just start shooting internationally because I wanted my work and my portfolio to really be different than just like a typical local photographer. And in that time of my life, I was just developing models, because a lot of models were my age. I was really young when I jumped into the industry. And basically, everybody that I worked with when I was doing shoots, editorials, stylists, makeup artists, everybody was a lot older than me. And I was always like the young one. And I was directing all these shoots and becoming the creative director. The models were my age. So I became friends with a lot of them. And when I became friends with a lot of them, I knew a lot of what their struggles were, how much money they didn't make, how hard it was for them to get bookings. And I learned a lot of what it really looks like being a model. And in 2014, actually, is when I first released a YouTube video called How to Become a Model that got, I think at that time, over 400,000 views. And it was really cool because during that time, it became kind of the video that like every model of that era had found on YouTube. And
Right.
so during that time, when I was testing with models of that, what I call class, because I feel like every 5 years there's like a different class of models. But of that class of models, like they all knew who I was because everybody had watched my video and it was, very informative and stuff. But I always knew not only like the life of a model and just how it functioned and flowed with agencies because I started getting close with, every major agency. But I also had this yearning to want to teach people how to approach things the right way. And then it's interesting because I kind of split ways with me being a music artist as well. I always had a passion for music, so I launched a music career, pop music, doing independent pop music, and it kind of became two in one because now I like direct my music videos and everything that I implemented in fashion and working for magazines and brands I do for my own music. But the skill of developing in front of the camera, like teaching someone how to perform, which is what I call it. I don't call it like posing or anything. I call it performing in front of the camera, is all interconnected in each of what I do. But the other cool thing when you bring it back to what's important today is the ability to develop and build an audience, which I think is the most important thing for models. I have an audience not only for my photography model development business, but also for my music. And then I help other art business owners and models and talent and influencers and whoever learn how to build and scale like an audience on social media to convert into actual income. So it kind of just it funneled into one. I started wanting to become specifically a fashion photographer, did that, wasn't very lucrative. It wasn't until I decided to offer my services to the general public because, a couple of years ago, modeling digitals wasn't accessible to just anybody. You had to know a fashion photographer and they had to know how to take digitals. And it wasn't just you can Google it and like find, oh, boom, book a photographer the way that you could for acting headshots, which I also do. I became the first person to offer services that were specific to modeling digitals. And then I decided that, okay, there's so much misinformation out there when it comes to the industry for models, and it's not the same as it was in the 80s or 90s or early 2000s. No one cares if you're pretty. Like, that's not the only thing that matters nowadays. You really do have to command an audience. You have to be pretty much like an influencer, and you have to have personality. So a lot of people, when they look up stuff to learn about modeling, it's always like these like cringy, not cringy, but like gimmicky things. Like here's how to learn how to catwalk, and here's how to do like these poses and stuff, which every industry person knows you learn when you get signed, and you learn for free when you develop with a photographer, and all the time, and when you're in development mode. But what they don't learn and what no one teaches is the business of modeling, like how to actually build a business as a model. My goal with my audience is to teach my models how to not only get signed, but think bigger than that, actually get bookings. And that's what eventually I made from this photography development scouting thing is I built an audience on TikTok and on Instagram where now people look to me as the person that gives them the advice on how to become a model the right way. And that's yeah. And then also part-time pop star as well, I guess.
Yeah, I've heard your music. It's good.
Thank you. Thank
Actually.
you.
But yeah, building an audience. I know you talked about building an audience, which I know that you have done very well because, over a year ago when we connected, I actually came across you on social media on TikTok, and then it led me to your Instagram, and then obviously that's how we connected. So yeah, I'm pretty sure you know how to build an audience. So I think that it's beneficial for models. Next question I have for you: what importance do you see in models having the proper training and development to be proposed or presented to agencies? Do you, on your end, see it make a difference if you have someone that has a little bit of development training? Um, do their chances go up in getting placement versus someone that doesn't? Do you feel like the agency is more likely to jump on them right then versus kind of wait it out and see them develop a little bit down the
100%.
road?
One of my friends who is an agent at LA Models, I asked him one day, I was like, what percentage of the models you sign are for their look versus their personality? Or like, what beyond their look, what else do you see? And he's like 75% of the chance, or 75% of the time, it's based off their personality, right? So it's just like an interview. Like people, especially in the fashion world, people like you have to figure you're gonna be working on set for 8 hours, and if it's a reoccurring client, like that's a consistent job that you want to maintain, which means that if you're going to be in a room in one place with people, small team of people for 8 hours, you need to be a likable person, and you need to be enjoyable. You need to be funny. You need to have personality, because those types of jobs get boring really quickly if you're not an interesting person. And so when you are considering being a model and you're going in for an interview with an agency, yeah, there's it's very important that you're able to sell yourself, sell your personality, sell something more to you, especially if you do have like an interesting and unique look. Like I tell models all the time, you have to stop caring or thinking that your look matters nowadays, because your look is easily replaceable. There's always someone that looks like you, but there's not someone that acts like you, or that thinks like you, or that has the same personality. There's a tone that you got to carry, because that tone gives a sense of confidence, and it gives a sense of security, and that's what people want to see, especially when you're doing an interview. In any interview circumstance, whether it's modeling or any job career, or any job in any career, you want to have a presentation, a charisma, because that's the other thing that I teach models as well, is that you want to have charisma, and you want to win over the favor of the people that are working on your team. And so that in terms that's very important to understand: likability, charisma, asking people questions, getting to know people, because those are the things that make people remember who you are. So in terms of personality, that's really important. In terms of like development and actually being prepared and knowing how to move in front of the camera and not feeling awkward, and that's a part of the development in person when people do digitals with me or they do test shoots, is me teaching them literally what it looks like to perform. And like a big thing that I teach my model is just like, stop caring, like you're portraying a character, and you got to be cocky, you got to be arrogant, but that's just like in the moment, not necessarily like that's not your personality, but you got to learn to tap into that. And it's easy for me to show them that, because I do that as a music artist. I have to do music videos, I have to perform, I have to like present, you know myself as an artist. So it's very hand in hand, the teaching that I give my clients, because I do that in everything that I do in my life. And so it is very, very important. And it makes a huge difference when you have that training versus when you don't. And that's where I think the value comes from. That's where I would say like models should invest their money. I don't think that investing in like runway teaching classes or whatever that they do, I don't think that's as useful. But literally teaching people how to do an interview is like a basic thing that I think is very helpful to get your foot in the door.
Yeah, I think a lot of times people they hear model development and they just think portfolio. They don't realize that part of that development process, especially on our end as mother agents, it's teaching them how to be confident and interview because there's a certain way that you need to come across, like you said, confident in order
Right.
to book jobs. If you go in and you meet with a casting director and you're very timid, they're like, "Oh no, this is not
Right.
going to work." You know what I mean? You have to be able to show your personality. What type of photos do you find beneficial for models to have in their portfolio outside of digitals? What type of photos do you find more beneficial to models being placed in their
Yeah,
portfolios?
timeless images. So I always teach models like you really want to develop a portfolio of images where the fashion is timeless, where you can't really distinguish like what year it was taken. It's definitely not trendy. And I mean you could pull off some trendy shots, but I always see that like timeless shots work. Like for males, you could easily always pull off a white or tank top, denim jeans. For females, anything that's flowy and white, like these timeless pieces will always be relevant. And why I like them for developing someone and building a portfolio is because it really just focuses on the model's face and movement. And I think that that's exactly what a model needs when they're building up their portfolio and when an agency is sending them out to different clients. At a certain point, a model can tell what brand or yeah, what look they have that pairs right for a certain brand. And so a smart thing that I tell models to do is if you want to shoot for PacSun, then do a test shoot where you're doing a PacSun campaign. Go to PacSun, buy their clothes, put together inspiration images, find a photographer and say, this is the kind of shot, this is the kind of photos that I want to shoot, and do it. If it's not PacSun, it's Prada, do it with Prada. Do it with any brand that you want to shoot for, because if you want to be it, you got to look it, and the best way to look it is just to do like a spec ad. So I think spec ads are a smart way to show brands that you already look the part. But I also think it's helpful for your portfolio because it's going to show brands, oh, this person works. Number one, people want to shoot fast. By the way, if you guys don't realize, they want to shoot quickly. They want to get things done. They don't want to spend time like getting the right shot with somebody. So more people or more brands are going to look at the images and want to see like you're a professional that will get the job done and you're good, right? So they don't want to look at your portfolio and see, oh, they're still new and okay, well they're cheap, so I guess we'll get them. I mean, if you want that, then you can get that, but you really want to show a portfolio that's strong, that's kind of like intimidating because you look expensive because you're a model that can kill it in your photos. Um, so yeah, those are the two ways that I would go about building a portfolio. Number one, have timeless, simple images that show the model moving and show their face. And then two, show campaign style images that target the brands that you're interested in working with.
Okay. I agree. I agree. I'm on the same page. I always say timeless. Timeless is always my first answer for portfolio. And then also too, with you saying that to create spec test campaign like or images that are replicating these campaigns for these brands that you want to work with. People don't realize that that is placing that image of you working for that brand already in that one designer's head or that casting
Right.
director's head. You're putting that image into their head that you can do this. And then the last question, really, that I have for you, you specializing in digitals, what is the importance of a model having good digitals before they submit to an agency? People always ask me as an agent all the time, well, what are the main photos that you want to see? And for me personally, when scouting, I want to see digitals first. But I want to know on your answer, what is the benefit that you see to models having good digitals before they submit to an
Yeah,
agency?
so I think that when someone can kill it in their digitals, they can kill it in everything else. If you can't kill it in your digitals, you're not going to be able to kill it in anything else. So I think if I know that, most people in the industry can tell that as well. But I also think that digitals. So your question was, why do I think it's important for people to have strong digitals? when they're approaching different agencies. Well, I also have a lot of my clients that take their own digitals, and you can tell the difference. You can tell the difference, and they don't look like models in their own iPhone digitals. Which, by the way, you guys can totally submit to modeling agencies with iPhone digitals. All of them allow that. All of them say on their website, like, take your own digitals with an iPhone. Though they mean that, it doesn't mean that you're gonna do a good job at doing it. So that's one thing. Good luck. If you try doing it yourself, good luck. But the importance of hiring someone like me, a professional, is that I literally guide you, direct you, and I teach you how to be comfortable shooting in front of the camera. And a lot of my clients come away from my sessions feeling so much more confident, not even believing that they could even look like a model the way that we get them to do, or to look in my images, so that when you do submit, you're submitting high quality images that get the agency to see you as a working model. That's my goal, and that's the objective. You don't want to look like someone that's trying to become a model. You want to look like someone that's ready to start working. You should be able to get signed immediately from your digitals because they're that clear, and you can pose, and you look that confident, and you can sell yourself in your digitals.
Yeah, I want to make a point too, and kind of bounce off of something that you said. At this point in my career, if I cannot tell based off of the first submission, if I have any inkling of hesitation or uncertainty, I pass. I want to see, like, one, quality of photo. It does make a huge difference. But on the scout side, I want to look at someone and instantly know, like, oh yeah, they're going to work. And so those digitals and having the good quality digitals, they do make a
Yeah,
huge
and
difference.
I'll add to
But
that too, because I think this is something very important that every model and everybody in the industry needs to understand too. The goal to make money as a model is to be creating content consistently, because when you have consistent content, when you're testing very frequently, your agent has new material to send out to different brands, a client list, right? Which means that um be very aware that your photos are a reflection of how much investment it shows that you are willing to put in yourself. If your digitals look cheap, it means you're a cheap person, and you're not going to care when it matters, when you get signed and your agency needs you to do what you got to do in order for you to start making money. So that's something I think it's important for everybody to remember.
awesome. Well, Brandon, thank you for joining me today. Hopefully, we can do it again soon. I'm going to visit you in LA.
Yeah,
But I appreciate you hopping on and chatting with us, and
of
we'll see
course.
you next
Yeah,
time.
man. Thanks for having me. Have a great rest of your day.